All right, it is 10 o'clock and we are going to go ahead and get started with our webinar this morning. I'm Gary Sparrow. I'm the Membership Director at the Henry County Chamber of Commerce. And just quickly, first I want to kind of go over a few things we have coming up in the next couple weeks. We do have some webinars. We're going to have one on the East Blast that will be voted on soon, and that is going to be on Tuesday, February the 16th. Next week, we're going to have normally our Business Boosters Luncheon Day, but we're going to have a virtual presentation from Don Ash. This February is also severe weather month, so he's going to kind of go over some information there. He is with the emergency management in Henry County. So a lot of things going on. We'll have another community dialogue webinar later this month, and you'll be getting all the information about that. So make sure and join all of those. And of course, all those will be recorded on Facebook Live. So you'll be able to catch them later if you happen to miss those. But I am privileged this morning to have with us Ms. Kena Ceasar from Ameris Bank. And she is going to speak to us today about the second round of the PPP loans. I know a lot of people are looking for information on that. And hopefully we will be able to, well, Kena, I won't, but Kena will be able to fill you in on everything you need to know about that. There is a Q&A feature on the webinar. I do ask if you have some questions, try to use that. That just kind of makes it a little easier to keep up with. If you put something in the chat, we'll of course follow that as well. And if you're tuning in on Facebook Live, just any questions, put those in the comments and we will get to those as quickly as possible. And if by chance, we're gonna go for about an hour. If we don't get to all the questions in that time, we will definitely follow up with anybody that we didn't get to answer with an answer for you after that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kena. Good morning. Just Kena, kind of let everybody know what you do at the bank there. I know you're working on this a lot, and kind of maybe give us an overview of the PPP loans, the first round, and then kind of get into what we can expect in the second round.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining. Again, my name is Kena Ceasar, and I am with the Ameris Bank, and I am one of the lending specialists that's involved in the Paycheck Protection Program for round 2. I was a part of the round 1 also, and so now that the CARES Act has been extended, the Paycheck Protection Program has extended for a second draw. I'm happy to be a part of that as well. So just to kind of get into what everyone wants to know is, hey, it's round 2 and what do we need to do? What are the differences? So round 1 had a lot of different changes, but it ended up right around, being able to use 60% of the proceeds towards payroll and then the remainder for other eligible expenses. So it started off in round 1 with a 8-week period, and then it evolved to a 24-week period for which you had to use the funds. And so with the second draw, you do have that 8 to 24-week option. The payback term started off at 2 years and it ended up at 5 years. So the terms are the same as well for draw 2. Just want to make sure that I reach my notes. So when draw 1, you had to have 500 employees or less. Draw 2, you have to have 300 employees or less. With draw 1, you did not require, there was not a requirement to show a reduction in gross receipts. For draw 2, you have to be able to show and provide at least a 25% reduction in gross receipts. And the reduction in gross receipts is basically for any two comparable quarters for 2019 and 2020. An example, if most people had a significant drop in quarter 2 of 2020. So if you was able to look at quarter 2 of 2019 and compare that to quarter 2 of 2020, and you had at least a 25% reduction in gross receipts, then you are eligible to apply for draw 2. just some of the other things that are a little bit different in Draw 2. So the Paycheck Protection Program, often is acronym, that's PPP program. It's designed to take 2.5 months of your monthly payroll and give that to you as a loan amount. And so those terms still apply on Draw 2. However, there's been some additional accommodation for the food service industry. So if your NAICS code begins with a 72, then they understand that those entities have been hit a little harder. And so for second draw, you are able to get 3.5 times your monthly payroll. So that part is different on second draw. First draw, everyone was at 2.5, and then the second draw, it's NAICS code 72. The other thing that's a little bit different this time is that it has opened to 501c6 organizations and housing cooperatives. So during Draw 1, those organizations were excluded, and they are now included in Draw 2. Draw 2, you can apply this program for, as of today, it extends through March 31st to 2021. So you have until March 31st to apply for the second round. One of the other things that they've done is they've set $25 billion aside for businesses that have 10 employees or less and need a loan amount of $250,000 or less in low and to moderate income areas. So there was a lot of scrutiny with the program in Draw 1, as you know, when we heard a lot of things on the news about bigger and larger corporations getting a lot of money and small businesses felt a little left out. So they've taken extra steps to try to make sure that they send aid to those areas and those businesses as well. Just trying to make sure that I cover everything. One of the things too, Gary, that's been asked is that, hey, if I took advantage of Draw 1 and I was able to receive some aid, am I able to apply for Draw 2 if the funds from Draw 1 has not been exhausted? And the answer to that is no. You have to actually have used up all of the funds from Draw 1 in order to be eligible for Draw 2. So if you're still in the process of using those funds, because this Draw 1 extended out through August 8th, you had a 24-week period to use those funds. If you have any funds left over, you can pay those funds back to close that Draw 1 funding and then apply for Draw 2, if that makes sense.
How is that? That just kind of made me think of a question. How would a business, as far as prove those funds have been used? Is it on, you have to have specific receipts for them, or how would they go about showing that?
Yes, so it's important that if you desire to have the loan forgiven, which everyone does, when you apply for forgiveness, you want to make sure that you're able to show your payroll, that the funds were used for payroll. And again, the requirement is that 60% has to be used for payroll. So you want to be able to do that by getting with your payroll provider or your bookkeeper or yourself. If you have your payroll registers, you have your 941s that you can show. You just want to make sure that you're able to provide all the necessary documents to show that you use those funds for payroll and to keep up and sustain your payroll. The other things too, if it's eligible, office or business expenses such as mortgages and utilities and things of that nature, whatever you elected that you would use those funds for, you definitely want to make sure that you keep all the necessary documents to prove that. And in those cases, Gary, to answer your question a little bit more specifically, it would be being able to show that you use those funds for like your lease, office expenses and things of that nature. So you do want to make sure that you hang on to those receipts because they may be required at forgiveness.
Okay. So this second loan it's forgivable as well as the first one.
It is. This second one is forgivable as well. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So just kind of maybe review a little bit the requirements, what they have to, information they have to have in order to get it, and maybe some things. I know we've done some work here with the CARES Act with the city of Stockbridge. I know there's always things people kind of leave out on applications and things like that. So what's kind of common mistakes maybe people make when applying for this loan, and kind of maybe give everybody a leg up to make sure they have everything in order?
So good question, Gary. So most institutions are looking for, so let me go back a little bit. During round one, we understand that, COVID hit, there was a pandemic, and during that time, because it was the beginning of the year, there were a lot of borrowers who did not have their 2019 tax returns available. They didn't have them complete. And so we accepted either the calendar year, depending on when you received the loan, because again, this program extended out through August 8th. So we was able to accept a rolling 12 months of your financials. And we was also, if you had the 2019 calendar year financials complete, then of course those would be preferred. And we was able to complete the loans with those. So for draw two, we have to have at least a full calendar year of 2019 or a full calendar year of 2020 financials. And so that's the major, I guess the major difference during this time. We understand, again, it's the beginning of the year, 2020s may not be done or complete yet, but we want to be able to see a full calendar year of 2019. So, presenting your 940, your 941s for all quarters. If you are an LLC and you're a sole prop, then we want to be able to, we're going to require that you have show us a Schedule C. So I think some of the common mistakes is the confusion between their income, payroll, and then gross receipts. So we're basically going to be looking at your Schedule C line 31, which is your net income, and we would divide that by 12 and then times that by 2.5 in order to get you what your PPP loan amount would be. So I think that's been what's the most confusing and that's the most common question. So you do want to make sure that you have your payroll docs in order as well. So most payroll providers like ADP or Paychecks, they're able to send you that information. They know that borrowers will need this for PPP. They were they had those tools available for draw one, and we will accept payroll registers. We will accept the ones that you have as well, just to show who's getting paid, when they're getting paid, how often, and the amounts. So that's some of the docs that we required as well. And then other miscellaneous docs outside of just your financials would be your articles of incorporation. Make sure that you are in good standing. So we're finding that that's been pretty common, believe it or not, that some businesses will go to register with the Secretary of State when at the start of their business, and they think that, or they're not aware of an annual renewal, or they're behind in their renewal. Your business has to be active and compliant with the Secretary of State for us to move forward. So, and then of course, making sure that you have, all the other ancillary things, your organizational documents, your operating agreement, things like that may be required by your institution, along with, identification documents, maybe a social security card if there is a discrepancy, of course, your driver's license, that's going to be required. So just identifiable documentation for both you as a guarantor and your business.
Okay, great. And I know you did mention to me when we discussed this a little earlier that if you go on the SBA website, it kind of goes over some requirements, but your financial institution, whoever's actually doing the loan, may have some additional things that you need to follow up with, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So you can, everyone, this information is privy to everyone via SBA.gov. So you can go on there. They actually have some steps on how you can calculate what your loan amount should be. They have a lot of information out there on the second round, who can apply, who's eligible. One of the things that's mentioned also is that there are requirements for the SBA that all institutions and all that are providing this through the SBA, we all have to make sure that we have. But then there are some additional requirements that whatever financial institution you are applying with may require. So it's not that it's out of guideline because it's not in the SBA an SBA requirement. It may be a requirement of that particular financial institution that's aiding you in getting this funding. So you just want to make sure that you have that, because the financial institutions are required to do some due diligence to make sure that you are who you say you are, your business is who you say you are. The SBA relies on us to do that automatically, and knows that the banks have different ways of getting that done. So,
okay. And also, I know that, and I've talked to some of our members and bankers in the area. I know a lot of them are doing just their customers as far as this goes, but Ameris Bank is doing anyone, correct?
okay, so yes, we found that a lot of institutions are now only doing the second draw for just their existing customers, or the second draw for the customers that they did a first draw for. So we are doing that as well, but we also have opened it up to other customers and borrowers as well. So if you we're not limiting the second draw to borrowers that just bank with us. However, we are limiting the second draw to borrowers that's within our 5-state commercial loan footprint. Please go on our website, amerisbank.com. There is a tab that says SBA relief, and all of our requirements and information should be there. There's a link actually to go directly to our portal to begin your application. It's pretty user friendly, so everyone can apply there. So as long as you're within our footprint, we will accept your application. And you can apply if it's a first draw, you can apply if it's second draw as well. Okay,
great. Let's see, I had something I was about to, okay. So since you do have to have the financial records from 2019-20, so we're looking at established businesses. I know there's been a lot of new businesses that maybe have started that have looked into getting these loans as well. So how long does somebody have to have been in business in order to get this loan?
So the SBA requires that you show proof, you're able to show proof of payroll as of February 15th, 2020. So we do have businesses that were started at the end of 19. We have businesses that, that don't have a full year of financials as of yet. What I will say is, please submit whatever financials you have. And as long as you were in operation, by February 15th, 2020, you have to show that you were making payroll at that time. And then, just submit what you have, talk to your financial institution, whoever the loan specialist may be, and see what they may require, and see what other documents or alternate documents they can use to aid you in getting that done.
Okay, sounds good. So I know you mentioned the applications will be open through March 31st for this round. I know last time there was some issues with people thinking the money was going to run out before, all the applications got in. Is that an issue now? Is that a consideration? Is the money going to run out before March 31st?
I'm glad you asked that. That's something that I think it's hard for any of us to answer. Many borrowers are very anxious because their thoughts are, hey, this money ran out before in draw 1. They refunded the program. We were able to continue through August the 8th. there is some concern, obviously, that the money will run out again. No one can say when and if it will, but what I will say is, if you plan to apply, if you're thinking about applying, then apply as soon as possible. One of the things, though, I will add to that is I've heard a lot of things about, hey, I'll just put in 50 applications all over the place. I'll apply with everyone until I hear from the first bank, or you know, that's up to you. Everyone can do as they feel that they need to. But just do know that if you put in multiple applications with multiple institutions, you could delay processing and funding, because the SBA, once that entity's tax ID or that guarantor's social has been submitted to the SBA, and you find, oh, I started with one application with this institution and I changed my mind, I wanted to go with this other institution for this application, we could be deadlocked. Because if we submit to the SBA and the SBA gives us a message back saying that this borrower has previously submitted with another institution, we're stuck at that point. And if we have to go back to the borrower, have a conversation around that. Sometimes borrowers say, well, I didn't complete that one has the wrong information, I really want to go with you all. Then it's up to the borrower to work with the SBA, because most institutions, we can be a liaison between the borrower and the SBA, but quite frankly, Gary, a lot of us that's working on these applications, we're so overwhelmed, we don't have the time to fight necessarily for that on that borrower's behalf, because they've had multiple applications at different institutions. So we would encourage that borrower to, hey, go back to the other, you know, institution that you applied with, see if they can withdraw your app, see where it is, you know, and see if you can get that resolved, and then call me back and I'll see if I can move forward on my end. So it can delay processing if you just fill out applications all over. So.
Okay, great. That's good to know. And it's good. I'm glad to hear that they're, you know, have set aside some for some small businesses. I know, you know, probably 80% of our chamber members are, you know, 15 or 20 employees or less. So really glad that they're setting aside a lot of money for the smaller businesses. We're going to have a few more questions, but I will, you know, again, encourage everybody, if you have any questions we haven't covered, anything, you know, put it in the Q&A, and we'll be glad to get to those as quick as possible. Or if you're on Facebook, just put them in the comments there on Facebook Live. And if you think of anything after the fact, you know, feel free to email me, and I can get it over to Kena or someone else, whoever can answer those questions. And we'll be glad to get those answers for you also. And if you know anybody that missed this, they can go back and watch it on Facebook Live after we're over. I know there was a Board of Commissioners meeting going on this morning, so some people may be on there and have missed this, but it will be available after the fact. So one thing, Ken, I want to go back to is the forgiveness of the loan. I know you mentioned as far as having the receipts to show that you used up the first one. What exactly do they need to make this loan forgivable? And if it's not, what are the terms of the loan if for some reason the loan is not forgivable? Because it is a loan, but right, it starts out as a loan, and it can be forgiven if you have all the proper paperwork. Am I explaining that correctly?
Yes, that's true. So the SBA has this available on their website as well. It is a loan that can be forgiven once the funds are exhausted, and then you can apply for forgiveness via the institution that you received funding from. And then again, they may have their specific, they may require some additional things, but we all will require what the SBA requires. And that's basically to make sure that you can show that the funds were used for payroll. So some institutions require that once you receive funding, try to make that paper trail as clean as possible. Put those funds into a checking account. Some people labeled it a PPP account. And then they used the funds accordingly. So they had their payroll debited directly from that same account. So it was a clear picture and indication that, I received funding, and then those withdrawals are for payroll. And so when we can clearly see that that's what you use the funds for, then it makes sense. You don't have to do too much digging and diving into trying to prove it when you say, well, I took part of the proceeds and I put it over here, and part of the proceeds and put over there. And you still may be able to just go ahead and prove that the funds were used for payroll, but you just, the cleaner, the better. That way you won't have to keep providing additional documentation. And the loans are at 1%. So all the loans are at a 1%. So if you have to pay the loans back, you'll pay them back at 1%. Now, when the SBA does some forgiving, sometimes they, based on the documentation that was provided, they may forgive all, they may forgive a portion, they may not forgive any. So you just want to make sure that you're able to provide the necessary documents.
Okay. And you said 60% has to be used for payroll?
Yes, 60%, at least 60% has to be used for payroll.
And the other funds can be used for anything, or does it have to be specific?
Well, they're supposed to be used for other eligible office expenses, and those expenses can be mortgage, rent, utilities. And they're listed on the application as well. So when you apply, whatever you intend to use the funds for, you want to make sure that you select the applicable reason that you intend to use the proceeds for.
Gotcha. So keep receipts, make a paper trail, and that's the best advice. Okay, that's great. All right. Well, Kena, is there anything else you want to add, or anything you can think of?
I was trying to see if it was something that I was forgetting, but no. Just please, if you're interested, then check us out. Go to amerisbank.com, because we are, especially in Georgia, I know we're Henry County. If you're interested and you're looking for funding, you can go to our website and apply right through our portal, right through our website. So, and upload your docs there. So I would encourage you to, just go ahead and apply as soon as possible. And we're here to help. Send your questions to the chamber. Gary can get them to me if you have additional questions or inquiries. And then, we're here to help. And we would love to and appreciate your business.
Okay. Well, great. Well, I tell you what, I think you have done a great job, because we don't have any questions. So you must have answered everything. So that's really good. So I know you're busy. So I'm going to let you get back to looking at applications and doing loans. So I appreciate you taking your time out to do this. Like I said, I know you're really busy, but we wanted to get as much information out there as we could to our members and other businesses in the county and the area that have joined us. So again, if you have any other questions that we didn't answer, feel free to contact me, and I will get the information over to Kena and or anybody else that may be able to help us. And again, thank y'all for joining. Kena, have a great day.
Thank you. You all too. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you, everyone.